Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show that's all about speaking your truth, sharing your stories, and sparking the conversations that matter most. I'm your host, Rodney W. Collins, and this is the Speak On It Show. On this show, we dive deep into the thoughts, experiences, and ideas that shape our world. It's a place where voices are heard, perspectives are celebrated, and discussions are not just encouraged, but cherished. Whether it's culture, politics, personal growth, or just life's everyday adventures, we're here to explore it all. We've got engaging interviews, thought-provoking discussions, and sometimes we might even stir the pot a little bit. Speak On The Show is where we challenge the status quo, celebrate diversity, and engage in conversations that make us think, laugh, and grow. So get ready to be inspired, get ready to connect, and most importantly, get ready to speak your truth. Without further ado, let's jump into today's episode. It's time for the Speak On It Show with your host, Rodney W. Collins. Good morning, good morning, good morning. I'm back. Welcome to the Rodney W. Collins Speak On It Show. I am Rodney W. Collins. First and foremost, giving honor to the God who allows me to come to you this morning in this manner on a weekly basis. How y'all doing out there? I know it's been a long time. I shouldn't have left you without a strong beat to step to, rock him back in the day. But I appreciate everybody tuning in this morning. Thank you for coming in. Let's go ahead and get these formalities out the way as I always do. You can watch me live every Saturday morning, 10 a.m. Eastern, 7 a.m. Pacific, on the Rodney W. Collins channel on YouTube and Facebook. Like, share, subscribe, do what you do with all the other people you follow. We're looking for impact, not just listeners, not just followers, impact. So if you want to be impactful, tune in, go ahead and share to the other people you think might want to hear what we got going on over here on the Rodney W. Collins channel and on the Rodney W. Collins Speak On It Show. So I missed y'all last week. I missed y'all. I'm going to be honest with you. I woke up, had everything together for the show. Well, I get everything together leading up to the show, but Saturday morning I woke up. I just didn't have that rhythm, y'all. I didn't have that zest, that feeling that I could give y'all what I normally give y'all. And I'm going to go ahead and say today, I don't know how much I'm going to give you either. I don't know if any of you have experienced a summer cold. But I'm dealing with it right now. First, I thought it was my allergies, but now I'm realizing that this may be a cold. So if I'm not giving you everything you want, or if I make some mistakes along the way today, blame it on my head cold, not my heart. Blame it on my head cold, not my heart. I'm just asking for grace because I almost shut it down today. But I said, no, the devil ain't going to win today. So I'm here. We're going to do this. But I want to start off with this, because I think it's something that all of us can use at this time. But I got a friend of mine, Slick Rick, and I'm not going to say his real name. That's what I call him, Slick Rick. We served together and everything. But he turned me on to a channel that I heard about, but I never tuned into on Sirius XM called Urban View. Channel 126 on the Sirius XM dial. If you got Sirius XM, this is for you. If you don't, you might want to go get it. But it's called Urban View. And there's a couple of people on there that host shows. There's Larry Daniels Favors is one of the shows. Karen Hunter is another show that I listen to. Then there's a Clay Kane, Al Sharpton's channel has his show on there. But I would encourage, because you need to fill in the blanks before I come on Saturday morning. So this is every day of the week. So while you waiting on me on Saturday mornings, go ahead and tune into Urban View, Sirius XM channel 126, because they have some guests on there and different things like that. But it's all about us as a community, what's going on in our community, how these things are affecting our community. And I think it's something that we all should be engrossed in right now with everything going on. They talk about politics. They talk about anything and everything on there, just like we do here on the Speak On the Show. But I would encourage you, if you have Sirius XM, start listening to the Urban View, channel 126 on Sirius. And I'm not getting paid for this. I'm not getting paid for this announcement. I'm just telling you. Go ahead and listen to it. Brian Hoodie, my brother, good morning. Appreciate you, bro. Appreciate it. Thanks for the continued support. Thanks for sharing with other folks. Keep doing what you're doing, bro. I appreciate you. And we'll talk soon. So Yeah, this head cold, man, I don't know where it came from. I guess when you're in 100 and some degree weather out here and you're going back in the house under the 80s, 75, 80, whatever we keep the temperature on, I don't know. You kind of, yeah. So it's all just congestion. Nothing to worry about. I got a little nervous. Started looking up if there was some viruses going on, if COVID came back, the Coco 19, see if they things came back. But I'm good. I'm back. We're going to get into this show. But today, I want to talk about some things. One part is going to be educational for you, and it's going to also leave it open for open questions. One of the other discussions I want to have that I want to bring up right now is we all seen in the news, we lost Malcolm Jamal Warner to an accidental drowning is what I'm going to call it. In Costa Rica, we've all heard about this big outpouring of love for him and support for him and his family now in this time. But our mind, body, and soul is going to be geared toward this. But I want to say this before we start, because there's some other people that passed away this week that I'm not even, going to deal with them. But I want to deal with the Malcolm Jamal Warner passing. And I want to say it to you like this. One thing that I noticed about us and society as a whole, let's say society as a whole, we gravitate to our entertainers, our athletes, and different people like that because they're on the big screen and we see them daily or whatever they're doing. And when one of them passes away, we see this big outpouring of love and support for this person, though we only know them through the screen. So I want to ask this question, and it's not really a question, but it's a statement that I want to make. The amount of outpouring that we give for celebrities who we have never met or who we don't really know who they are, only from what is portrayed on the screen. I guess the statement I'm making is that, and it's been festering in my soul, is why don't we see this with the people that we do know? Now, I'm not saying that we don't show support, but the outpouring of love, the feelings, the gratitude, and the feelings towards them, where do we fall short in this? Because I think a lot of time we get so caught up in the celebrity that we don't look at the person. And I'm not saying it's just about Malcolm Jamal Warner, because we got a lot of people that pass away that are celebrities that we put up on this big pedestal and everything like that. But behind closed doors or off the screen, they're not the person that we think they are. But we tend to, and I'm just going to use the word idolize these people because of the talent that got them on the screen, rather than looking at them for the man or the woman that they truly are. Now, everybody may not have the same feelings, and I'm not trying to diminish what happened to Malcolm Jamal Warner. This is just on a broader scale is what I'm talking about. But I want you to think about that and think about the fact that when someone that's a celebrity passes away, there's such a large outpouring of support and everything like that, but we really don't know these people. But at the same time, we show more compassion. Let's just break it down here. We show more compassion and sympathy towards the families of people who pass away that are celebrities or athletes that we've never met, that we really don't know. Sometimes more than we do for the person that grew up down the street from us, someone that went to school with us, someone that we've had interaction with, maybe on a daily basis. What causes that? It's just something to think about. What causes that? Like I said, I'm not trying to minimize anything about anybody, but it's just something that was sitting with me. And I know when these things sit with me, it's not of me, it's of God. They just make me think a little deeper than just the surface. So I wanted to put that out there to y'all today, but we're going to get into this, man, because, I'm back. I'm ready. And I'm going to giving you the best that I got. In the infamous words of Anita Baker, giving you the best that I got. Let's go and get into this. Let's go. in the news. Now, the news has been flooded. With the Epstein saga, is what I'm going to call it. Jeffrey Epstein supposedly killed himself back in 2019. But there's some unfinished business with Jeffrey Epstein and those of that ilk, per se. So we got a person sitting in the White House that's trying all these different distractions to throw you off the case or throw you off this. And I want to say this before I get into this, that if we're waiting for this to be the final straw that takes this person down, I think you may be looking a little bit too deep into what's going on here. But I'm going to say it this way. When have you ever heard of the Department of Justice, second in charge, going to sit down and talk to a person that was sentenced along with Jeffrey Epstein to talk about what names are in the book, who's in the book, and all the different things that went on with Jeffrey Epstein and who traveled with him and all those different things? When have you heard anything like that in any case you may know about? Now, I know they say that, they go and they talk to people in jail because they may know something about this crime, that crime, or whatever. But we're talking about the Department of Justice. The Department of Justice, second in charge. The other part is she's serving up to 20 years. Is there a pardon coming? That's what they're saying. That she doesn't say anything or she holds back information, all these things. We're going to see how this turns out. But what I really want to tell you is this. If Jeffrey Epstein was allowed to do what he did or allegedly has done, and his help, Ms. Maxwell, if he had done these things that he allegedly done, what was the reasoning behind him not being charged when Florida had the case? Because if you remember, see, this is where it gets caught. It gets a little lost in sauce. These charges were brought against Epstein by Florida, and they made a plea deal where he would serve no time. So in this plea deal, which I would like to see, what was the true essence of the plea deal for him not to be charged in Florida, but eventually be charged federally before, his death? These are the things that are getting lost in there that nobody wants to talk about, nobody's bringing up, because the prosecutors in Florida had him to dead rights, but they did a plea deal. Was the plea deal because, they didn't want him to tell on other folks, which is what most people are saying now? Who knows? But we're going to see how this comes out in the ringer. But I would tell you, don't bet your money on everything coming to fruition like most people think is going to come to fruition. Is the person sitting in the White House right now running scared? Oh, yeah. There's a whole bunch of people running scared. Because if this goes as deep as they say with the pedophilia, and this listing or the people that are in this book or whatever they have is as deep as they say, there's a lot of people that we may support or may have supported at some time that could be involved. The question is, will we ever know? Will we ever know? And it's doing a disservice to all those women, young women, that these assaults, sexual abuse, trafficking were all done to. With that, I want to get into this. And this happened last week. And I didn't get a chance to talk about it, but here we go. While we're talking about human trafficking, which is what Jeffrey Epstein was doing, the State Department guts its office combating human trafficking. The State Department, under Marco Rubio, under the guidance of Donald Trump, has cut and gutted its office combating human trafficking. Now, is this by coincidence? Because This is what they were going to charge Diddy with, but he ended up not getting these charges with the human trafficking, if I recall. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong. The cuts come as Trump reels from MAGA anger over sex trafficker Jeffrey Epstein. As President Donald Trump takes a beating from his own MAGA crowd for his handling of the case of Jeffrey Epstein, the deceased pedophile and sex trafficker, his State Department pulled a surprising move. It disseminated its office combating human trafficking. As part of the downsizing, the Trump administration on Friday, I think it was last Friday or the Friday before, cut 1,353 positions at the state, about 15% of its Washington-based staff, and the largest reduction in decades. This reduction in force targeted foreign policy goals that don't align with MAGA values. This included closing or eviscerating entire offices to promote democracy, combat genocide, and violent extremism, help resolve armed conflicts, and supported women's rights. Among them was the Office to Monitor and Combat Trafficking in Persons, known as the TIP Office. So now, is this coincidental? Is this something that was going on for a while that they seen? Because let me digress here for a minute, because I pulled this up, but I didn't print it out. If you recall, the Department of Government Efficiency was supposed to go in and make cuts that were going to save the taxpayers money. And to this day, even after Elon Musk left Doge, and I don't know if Doge is still in existence, but after he left Doge, we have still not seen figures that show what these cuts have saved. All we know is there's been thousands upon thousands of federal workers put out of jobs with buyouts and so on and so forth. But we haven't seen anything to say that all this has saved the government and us as taxpayers any money. But we have seen where they have put more money on the debt, because it was supposed to help with the debt, to give these millionaires and these rich folks more tax cuts. So when we talk about these things and what they're eliminating and what they're getting rid of, you have to step back for a minute and say, wait a minute. It's one thing when they're eliminating jobs and, getting rid of DEI programs and all these different things that we talk about. But then you have to start looking at, why would he eliminate the office combating human trafficking? Human trafficking. Because one thing that I know, and I've heard this from Roland Martin. Roland Martin said this at one time. When the debate that was going on about abortion, pro-life, pro-choice, Brian Hoodie, no $5,000 Doge check yet either. Yeah, ain't nobody got no money, but they're promising you, and I got that in here too, so let's get into that a little bit later, rebate checks. But I digress. Thanks, Brian Hoodie. So Roland Martin, during this debate about pro-life, pro-choice and everything like that, he said something that really jumped out, and it goes into effect with what I'm getting ready to talk about right now, in conjunction with the human trafficking section being eliminated, with what's going on. From the womb to the tomb is what Roland Martin said. If you care about children as you say that you want to get rid of abortion, then you need to care about the child from the womb to the tomb. That means the full lifespan of that child that you say we shouldn't abort, no matter what the situation is, that you should care about that child, not only at that time, but until the time that we're putting up a tombstone. But then you hear crickets from those pro-life advocates rather than pro-choice. So it goes into, it says they call it pro-life, but what they mean is pro-control. Not cradle to grave care, not reverence for breath, just surveillance of the womb and silence in the tomb. They fight for embryos, but abandon children born to systems that strip dignity. They weaponize morality, but offer no balm for trauma survivors whose truths threaten the comfort of their institutions. Let's stop there for a minute. Let's repeat that. But offer no balm for trauma survivors whose truths threaten the comfort of their institutions. Human trafficking, sex trafficking, pedophilia. All these things are happening on a daily basis somewhere in this world, somewhere in this United States, somewhere by one of the people who considers themselves to be a politician or someone in power. But they're silent about when these things happen, but they're loud about protecting birthright. About birthright. Oh, not a woman's choice, about a child's right to be birthed. But they call it pro-life under the guise that it's under our discretion once the child is born, whether we do everything we can to support that child. All the things they're eliminating, all these different things, programs. You know, I seen a report where in Africa, the U.S. aid and everything we send to Gaza and all these war-torn countries and everything, they stopped all that. And now you have children dying from malnutrition because the aid cannot get through because one, Israel's blocking the aid into Gaza. And two, they stopped the aid into Africa where we've been doing aid in Africa for so many years, it became routine. So when people say, I'm pro-life, ask them, are you pro-life from the womb to the tomb, or are you a pro-life by choice of, it's not my child, but I want it to live, but I don't care in the conditions that it may live or the conditions that the child may be in that cause the person to think or second guess whether they should have the child or abort the child. See, I don't think y'all hear me. See, these are the things that people get so caught up in the pro-life, pro-choice, but they don't talk about all the ramifications long-term. How the government is taking away all these things that help that child from the womb be able to prosper in this world. I don't think y'all hear me this morning. I don't think y'all hear me. James Goodwin, good morning. Good morning, my brother. I appreciate you. See, this is where the water gets muddy. And then people step back and say, well, to kill an innocent child, you don't know the situations. Now, to mind you, I don't want anybody to think that I'm pushing my agenda on anybody. I have my thoughts on pro-life, pro-choice. My thoughts are it's pro-choice. A woman should choose or be able to choose what happens with her body. I don't think anybody should just all willy-nilly go and eliminate a pregnancy because they weren't doing what they need to do. But there's certain situations that you have to look at in the broader scale. But you can't say you're pro-life only when it comes to the birth. See that? You can't just be pro-life when you're only talking about the birth of a child or the pregnancy of the time carried before the child is born. You can't say you're pro-life if you're not talking about the full extent of the livelihood of that child that you're trying to, per se, protect. So when you get into this talking about pro-life, are you pro-life with all these victims that Jeffrey Epstein and his accomplices abused sexually, mentally, physically, and so on and so forth? And are you pro-life when someone's given death by electric chair, death by firing squad? There's a lot of ways you can go with this. The survivors we ignore. Where's life advocacy when trauma lingers post-assault? Where's the help for these young ladies that went through everything they went through? Where is pro-life when communities are flooded with grief, addiction, and neglect? When survivors cry out, pro-life becomes pro-later. Later, when it's convenient, sanitized, and palatable. You want the child born, but you don't want the child fed. You want the victim silenced, but you want the abuser shielded. Let me repeat that part for you. You want the victim silenced, but you want the abuser shielded. There's a list. Now ain't no list. There's a book. Now ain't no book. I wasn't in the book. We weren't friends. You know, there's a time in our lives where we had to step back and evaluate. And when I say evaluate, I'm talking about evaluate your life, your walk, your journey. And I heard someone say this about Malcolm Jamal Warner. Well, he mentioned it. And he said his father said to him one time when they was talking that what he is most proud of him was not the acting fame and not the notoriety and all this thing. He was proud of him because he was a good person. A good person through and through. So I'll say it like this. Can all of us sit back and evaluate, are we a good person? Or does someone view you as being a good person? No matter your faults, your trials, your tribulations, are you a good person? Because when we talk about these things, we get into these things about what's going on in the world. See, we separate ourselves from our decisions and what we think is right and wrong. But in those decisions, are you looking at yourself? If you're in that situation, are you looking at yourself as being a good person and looking out for the other person? Or are you only looking out for your best interest when the interest benefits you? True pro-life means radical care. It means systems of healing, not just birth plans. It means justice rituals that name pain and make space for collective mourning. It means womb to the tomb and every traumatic breath in between. It means holding the hand of a rape survivor with the same urgency as you hold a protest sign. Ooh, watch out there now. It means holding the hand of a rape victim, rape survivor, with the same urgency as you hold a protest sign. Same pro-life. If your advocacy ends when life becomes inconvenient, you're not protecting sanctity. You are performing safety. There's a time in all our lives where we're going to have to really evaluate where we stand. Kevin Banks, my brother, good morning. Where we stand. Because there's going to be situations that come up that cause you to reevaluate where you stood. And it's not going to be every situation, but there's going to be certain situations that's going to make you reevaluate because it's hitting close to home. As I mentioned a couple weeks back when I talked about Diddy and Cassie Ventura and how we've become silent towards the victims in these situations, which is the same thing happening with this Jeffrey Epstein and all the people of the same ilk that are supposedly in this book or have participated in these things and so on and so forth. But the thing that jumps out to me is we are so engrossed in the media per se that we're looking at the bigger people, the larger people with money who are able to do these things under the cover of darkness, rather than the everyday person right now somewhere in this country and in this world that is being abused by an uncle, hell, a father, a stepfather, or is being handed over to someone by another woman that they trust. But at the same time, while all this is going on, we have a person and an administration who is eliminating the things that are in place to help combat these type of actions. Where do you stand? Now, where do you stand now? Because it's not someone you know or someone you love. Compared to where would you stand if it was someone you know or someone you love? See, we can all sit back and say shoulda, coulda, woulda. And we really don't know until we're in the situation. But if we have what we call and what we know to be our government of this country eliminating things to protect the innocent, what does that say? When we have people in this government who, when I said a couple weeks ago, this is what you voted for, and the pushback I got was things of, well, at least we didn't get Miss Word Salad. Or, yes, I voted for him and he's doing everything he said he would do. Are you okay with this? Or are you proud to say you voted for him depending on the situation that is coming up? Because when we talk about, as I mentioned in the beginning for this, pro-life should be from the womb to the tomb. Do you agree? Because it doesn't seem like our government does at this time. With everything that they're eliminating that deals with taking care of that child that comes from that womb that you said that we should protect. But the protection of that womb ends once the child comes out. Help me understand. Help me understand where you stand. Just a question. Just a question. Now let's get into this rebate thing. Brian Hoodie said, no $5,000 Doge check yet either. No. And here's the other thing. Trump says he's considering rebate checks for Americans based on the tariff revenue. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. On the tariff revenue. What are we making off the tariff? Because the consumer doesn't pay for the tariff. We can pay for the tariffs when it's on the shelves. But the businesses that receive the tariffs, receive the products are the ones paying the tariffs. So they got you befuddled because it says that President Trump on Friday said he's considering issuing rebate checks for Americans based on the billions in new tariff revenue collected by his administration. We're thinking about a little rebate, but the big thing we want to do is pay down debt. But we're thinking about a rebate. Federal debt, which currently stands at more than $36 trillion, is projected to rise due to the new tax cuts and spending bill signed into law by Trump on July 4th. According to forecasts from economists and public policy think tanks, the nation's deficit could rise by $3.4 trillion over the next 10 years because of the impact of the one big, beautiful BS bill act. The Bipartisan Policy Center said, citing estimates from the Nonpartisan Congressional Budget Office and the Joint Committee of Taxation. Mr. Trump added that the rebate could be for people of a certain income level, although he didn't specify the threshold that he's considering. The federal government has collected about $100 billion in tariff revenue since the Trump administration instituted its higher import duties earlier this year, which could increase to $300 billion per year, Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent told Fox News. Y'all believe this? Because if y'all, let me just put it this way. So y'all remember During COVID, when they were sending out these little stimulus checks, they gave you a little money, and everybody was okay with that. $500 here, $1,200 there. Everybody was like, oh, he gave us some money. Yeah, he gave you money. He gave you a little stimulus check because he killed so many people. I said it. He gave you a stimulus check to cover for all the people he killed because of his non-action to Coco 19. COVID-19 for y'all that's just tuning in for the first time. So when we had the Coco 19 going on, what can we do to put them back a little bit so they ain't as angry? Throw some money at them. See, money, they think heals everything. That's why they give you a little rebate check and everybody like, oh, I'm good now. I got some money. People was getting a little $400 and everything. Trump gave us some money. Really? Really? Yeah, that's the way it goes. That's the focus of what we do. That's the focus of what we do. Let's oh man. Let's get into this. Only the warrior who has faced battle truly knows its cost. Yet it's the spectators who shout the loudest. Everybody's got something to say about your life, but most of them, they've never fought your battles. They didn't feel the pressure. They didn't carry your fears. They weren't there when you almost broke, but didn't. So don't let their noise define you. Don't explain your scars to the unscarred. Respect your scars. They're not signs of weakness. They're receipts of your strength. You're not here for applause. You're here for alignment. Legacy isn't given, it's built. Own the journey. Embrace the power. Live the legacy. Lifegistics Coaching Solutions. Welcome back. So Lifegistics Coaching Solutions, that's my baby. That's my business that I'm running. But I want to touch on something I brought up a while ago called Unmask the Weight We Carry. And it was supposed to be launched in July this month. And got a couple hiccups here and there. Got a lot of things going on. I'm trying to refine, but it's not going to kick off. And I don't want to give you a date because I want to make sure this is not perfect, but to the standard that I expect from myself. So anybody that wants to join, wants to be involved in this, lifegisticscoaching@gmail.com, or you can send me send me a message through lifegisticscoaching.com. And there's a place on there where you can put your information in as far as just sending me a request for services or whatever you want to do. And you can put it there. This is still, it's going to happen. It didn't die. It didn't die on the vine. It didn't do anything like that. But there's some things that I want to refine and make sure that we're doing the best that we can when I launch this. So the Unmask, the Weight We Carry, still is in existence, still is going to happen. It's just going to be delayed. Delayed, not denied. It's going to be delayed, but not denied. So if you want to be involved, Lifegistics with a Y, lifegisticscoaching@gmail.com, or send me a message through lifegisticscoaching.com through the website. Let me know if you want to be a part of it, and we'll keep moving on from there. So just wanted to put that out there because I know there was a lot of people that were asking questions. What happened to the Unmasked? Is he following up on it? Yeah, I'm following up on it, but I just had things take time. And I think I might have announced a little bit too early because I was so excited about this, but there's some things I need to refine. So bear with me, stand with me, delayed, not denied. So hang in there, y'all. We're going to keep doing this. So let's get into this. This is my next one. I think this is going to be something that's really going to wake y'all up this morning. Let's go. Straight talk, straight talk, straight talk. So this morning I want to touch on this. There's there's some things going on out here that fall back to the things that we've seen in our past that are going on right now. And a lot of times we ask the question, well, what is this? What's really happening? Everyone's seen on the news, if you watch the news enough, the ICE agents in this country with the mask on. Now, mind you, a lot of these people aren't really sworn in ICE agents like we know to be. There are people that they've appointed, deputized, and so on and so forth to help with this mass deportation plan that they have. But I want to go back to this masking of people so you can't see their faces and what they're doing and hold against them what their actions are. And if you know, you know. And it starts off with this, and I'm going to say it this way. White supremacy's obsession with anonymity reveals fear, not conviction. White supremacy's obsession with anonymity reveals fear, not conviction. Now, some people will say, well, the ICE agents ain't white supremacists. How do you know? How do you know? Because you can't see the face to know who they are. But it's the tactics that the white supremacists have used in this country forever. So let's not overlook the fact of, because they say ICE agent or police on their chest and they have a mask on, that they're not white supremacists, or if they are white supremacists, either or, when they're using the same tactics that white supremacists have used in this country since its inception. I don't make it up. I speak facts. I don't do comparisons. I give you facts. So for these ICE agents that are duly sworn to do their duties as ICE agents in this country, the question I have is, why are we resorting, or why are they resorting back to the white supremacist tactics that were used during slavery, during the KKK, right now with the white supremacist movements of the Proud Boys and was it the Patriot Front? And now we have the same thing with the ICE agents in this country. Now you can say it's far-fetched, but let me give you a little history, and maybe you'll get out of denial of what you think you know and get into the mindset of understanding what this is all about. Fear. It's not about conviction for what they believe. It's about instilling fear in the people that they're going after. White supremacy has always had a wardrobe. Hoods, helmets, avatars, bureaucracy. Not just to protect the wearer, but to hide the shame. Because the truth is, if you believe in what you stand for, show your face. If you believe in what you stand for, show your face. This episode is not just commentary. As I said, it's facts. Because covering your face doesn't make you powerful. It makes you afraid to be fully seen in your own belief. Because if you believed in your cause, wouldn't you show your face? Wouldn't you want me to know who you are and what you stand on if that's truly what you stand on? Because let me tell you, I don't have no problem coming on here Saturday mornings, turning this camera on and showing my face and letting you know how I feel about anything and everything, because I stand 10 toes down on my beliefs, because this is conviction for me to put the word out about how I feel about things, and you decide how you want to deal with it. But this is how I feel. But if I came on here with a mask on every Saturday morning saying what I say, would you believe me? Would you believe the things coming out of my mouth if I put a mask on and come on here on a Saturday morning and say the things I say? Could you honestly believe what I'm saying? Could you believe that I believe what I'm saying? Or would you think that I'm hiding behind the mask to hide the fact that I'm not convicted about what I'm doing? I'm fearful about what I'm saying. That's where the rubber meets the road. That's where, the water gets muddy for a lot of y'all out there. Slave patrols. Let's start with the slave patrols. First formed in 1704 in South Carolina, patrols lasted over 150 years, only technically ending with the abolition of slavery during the Civil War. However, just because the patrols lost their lawful status did not mean their influence died out in 1865. There are distinct parallels between the legal slave patrols before the war and extra-legal terrorization tactics used by vigilante groups during Reconstruction, most notoriously the Ku Klux Klan. Now, mind you, slave patrols used to wear things like masks that looked like animals. They had the horns coming out the head and the mask covering their face. But either way, they were masked, or they rode in the darkness of night. Same thing the KKK did when they went out in those dark fields and burned crosses. They don't want you to see what they stand on because they're fearful of how you may treat them on the way they're treating others. See, this is where a lot of y'all don't hear me. In the 1700s, slave patrols rode under the cover of night, legalized, deputized, masked up, and riding hard, not for justice, but for control. They weren't protecting anyone. They were performing fear. Faces shadowed, no names offered, just white rage on horseback. Even then, they knew what they were doing couldn't survive daylight. That's why they rode cloaked in darkness. Because cowardice prefers costume over consequence. Then came the Klan. Y'all remember this? Y'all see this? See how they're covered up? See how the face is covered? Post-Civil War, when slavery ended, terror rebranded, white sheets, burning crosses, night marches. Same tactic, new cloth, new mask. They didn't protect their families, they protected their shame. Because if you truly thought you were righteous, why dress like a ghost? Why silence your name when you shoot your hate? Now I'm going to go back. I was born 1966. I'm 59 years old. I can remember like it was yesterday. In my hometown of Frederick, Maryland, shout out Frederick, when they had KKK members do a parade down the middle of the main street, Market Street of Frederick, Maryland. Now, I can't remember my age, but I can remember them marching down the street in their robes. As I said, I was born in 1966. I'm 59 years old. So they're standing on business that they want to act like they stand on. They don't stand on business. Because if they stood on business, we would be able to see who they are. But you know why we don't see who they are? Because one of them is a cop. One of them is a congressional member. One of them is somebody who's in the community, supposedly working for the better of the people in the community. But he goes here and shit covers up his face. Because that's the tactic. If I stay unknown in this aspect, I can engross myself in everything that affects the people that I'm wearing this mask about. Today's raids aren't any different. We still got the people wearing the KKK mask. We got the other ones up in the corner, Patriot Front, with their masks on. And then you got the different versions of ICE agents at the bottom. Today, they're just dressed in Kevlar and paperwork. ICE agents show up early without names, without explanation, knocking down doors, taking lives apart, but refusing to look the people they detain in the eye. Power doesn't hide. Enforcement without transparency is just legalized terror. And if the badge is the new hood, then we need to speak on that too. See, a lot of people will say, well, damn, come on, Collins. This is them trying to deport people who are here illegally. Okay. But they're using the same tactics that they used on the people who were brought here illegally, that were in this country working under the guise of work or die. But they're using the same tactics that's always been used when you talk about white supremacy. Cover my face. I don't need you to see who I am because I stand on what I stand on, but you don't need to know I stand on what I stand on. So whether it's done to me, my ancestors, the people that look like me, or the people that they say are here illegally, it's a tactic that's been used for centuries in this country for fear. Let's just call it what it's for, fear. For the fear that if you know who they are, it puts them in a different light. Take the mask off. Take the mask off. If you feel that strongly about what you're doing, take the mask off. You never seen, that I know of, ICE agents wearing masks until this big deportation thing started. And if I'm wrong, somebody correct me and show me the evidence. But from what I know and from what I've read, this wasn't something that was normal with ICE. This is something that's normal when you talk about white supremacy. And then you got those behind the computers. Spread hate online, but use a cartoon avatar. They don't want to put their face up. Plan racist rallies, but won't publish the real name. White supremacy today lives on Discord, Reddit, Telegram, hidden usernames, burner accounts, VPN layers thick as cotton. You don't sound powerful, you sound ashamed. You don't sound righteous, you sound afraid. If the truth demands hiding, it's not the truth. If it's terror in a trench coat. Now I'm gonna go a little deeper. And as I tell everybody, I'm not the most religious person in the world, but I'm very spiritual. Very spiritual. And this goes for those other white supremacists who hide behind scriptures. You can't quote scripture while wearing a hood. You can't quote scripture while wearing a hood. You can't chant love while marching in disguise. The Bible doesn't need armor. Jesus showed up as himself, not hidden, no mask. So if your so-called morality requires a mask, then your gospel's a cover story. So how dare you twist the sacred text to justify the shadows? Covered face, covered heart, covered truth. You can't serve love in a costume of oppression. So all you fake evangelicals out there, all you Christian nation people that talk this, talk that, where you stand on this? Because Luke 8:17 says, for nothing is hidden that will not be revealed. Luke 8:17. For nothing is hidden that will not be revealed. See, because I know to be brave is to be seen. To be real is to be named. And to step forward and reveal who you are. So you're wearing masks in order to harm others, but stand on the principle that you're Christian. Stand on principle that you love this country. Stand on principle that you're doing the right thing, but you wear a mask. White supremacy has always disguised itself, law, faith, and anonymity. But we see through it now. It can't stay hidden. These are the tactics that have been used forever. Forever. Cowardice always needs a costume. But truth shows up face first. Cowardice always needs a costume, but truth shows up face first. Take the mask off. If you feel that strongly about what you're doing, take the mask off. Let us see who you are. Let us see the position you hold wherever you work. Let us see where you sit in the church. I said it, in the church. Are you the pastor? Are you a deacon? I don't know if they got deacons in the white supremacist movement, but I just figured I'd throw it out there because I'm talking about my church now. Are you a congressman, senator, teacher, police officer, somebody in the community? You got mixed grandkids? Let me say, you got mixed grandkids? That you got to hide your face here, but go home and play with them like, that's my grandbaby? Because, we got those. Y'all know we got those, right? Those that will go out here and wear this mask at night under the shadows and everything, and then go home and play with their mixed grandchild. And I hate to say mixed. Their biracial grandchild. But they hide behind this mask. Come on out. Come out wherever you are. This is the history of this country. White supremacy is masked up. And the funny and ironic thing about these masks? Some of these same people, watch this now. Some of these same people out here wearing these masks, whether the KKK robe or the Patriot Front or the ICE agents or whatever, are the same people who had a problem when the government said, please wear your mask to prevent spreading the COVID virus in your community. You can't make this up. They didn't want to wear a mask to save people, but they'll wear a mask to degrade people. Let that marinate. Yeah, let that marinate. You can't make this up. Let's go. Mind, body, and soul, mind, body, and soul. It is the year 2025. And we're dealing with the 3 Ps. And I'm trying to find it. Y'all bear with me. Here we go. Dealing with 3 Ps this year. Purpose, power, and possibility. With purpose, I align my action. With power, I claim my strength. And with possibility, I embrace the endless opportunities life has to offer. The 3 Ps. Purpose, power, and possibility. And today's mind, body, and soul goes back to something I was talking about in the beginning. It goes along with my thoughts with the passing of Malcolm Jamal Warner. And I mentioned how the outpouring of love and support for his family and everything, and how people say they loved him, and all these different things. But I want to ask this question to us, because I think it's something that we got to get better at. We do it, but not to the extent that we need to do it. And it starts with this. This is the quote. Don't wait for a tombstone to give someone their testimony. Don't wait for a tombstone to give someone their testimony. Let me let y'all sit in that for a second. Because we always hear, give them the flowers while they're here. Make sure you give them the flowers while they're here. They can't hear your flowers from the grave. Well, they can't hear it when that tombstone's up either. So don't wait for a tombstone to give someone their testimony. We build altars for the dead and forget the living. We call someone inspirational once they're gone. But while they were here, our tongues hesitated. And we label it humility or timing, or they already knew. But knowing is not the same as hearing, feeling, and receiving. There's this hesitation, for some unknown reason, of us telling people how they made us feel, how they've impacted our lives, what they've done to make us become better in our journey. I don't know what it is. I don't know why it is. But a lot of people try to put it on, and I'm going to speak from a male perspective. A lot of people try to put it on from a male perspective that we don't tell people how they make us feel and what they do for us, because there's this homophobic mindset that we carry with us. I'm not going to minimize it to that, because then what you're doing is you're minimizing the fact of, I'm not in touch with who I am as a man. I don't think it's the homophobic aspect that people try to label it as. I think it's the fact that sometimes we don't know how to express ourselves because it's generational. Let's just go down this rabbit hole for a minute. I think it's generational because if we haven't seen those actions as a kid growing up in our homes, we don't know how to express ourselves when we get out on our own. And it becomes generational because we don't know how to do it. That means our kids are looking and they don't see us do it, so they don't know how to do it. We don't know how to give people compliments until we get to be a certain point. We don't know how to express our gratitude for people on a consistent basis because there's something in us that just holds us back. What it is, everyone has their own reasons. Everyone has their own thing that they need to dig into and find out. I think there's so many things that we put these blocks up to stop us from being vulnerable or being emotional. Just telling someone how good they have been to you in your life, how hard is that? It's not. But we make it hard because we're more concerned about how it may make us look if we say it than knowing how it's going to make that person feel because we said it. I've struggled for a long time expressing myself as far as when I needed something, because there was something rooted in me that I don't need someone to be able to do what I need to do. But what I found out is we all need somebody at some time. And it doesn't make you needy. It makes you understand that I fall short here. I need something or somebody to help me get to this. When we talk about giving people their flowers, we hear people talk about my high school coach or my teacher and all these different things that are professions that have helped them along the way. But very rarely do we hear people talk about that uncle or that mother or that father or even that brother that inspired you to go an extra step to become who you are. And I'm not saying that's true along the way, but it happens in a lot of cases. When's the last time any of us told our parents how much we appreciate everything they've done for us in the time while we're growing, even up to this day? And why can't we? Why can't we tell them how much they've impacted us, how much we appreciate them? Because here's the thing. I know y'all go out here and tell everybody how bad they were to you or how many times they may have beat you when you were doing wrong. But if you just had sat down and had that conversation and said, I appreciate you for developing me to become the person I am. Now, I've fallen short many, many times, and I've made bad decisions. But in those bad decisions, I always harken back to the things you told me when I was a kid. Don't do this. Look out for that. But when you're on that path and you're on that journey, you're making decisions on what you feel is right. But after that decision turns out to be wrong, you always harken back to what someone told you at a certain time that you didn't think was good enough for what you wanted. But in all reality, it was exactly what you needed to hear. You just chose not to use it. I say all that to say this. We see and hear about a lot of death. And we see and hear a lot of people getting their flowers or being told how they impacted them when they can't hear it. Put your pride aside. This is going to sound crazy, but I'm just going to say it. It's easy to express our emotions at a funeral. It's easy for us to express our emotions when someone's gone. It's easy for us to break down, cry, grieve, all those things we think about in death. It's easy for us to do that, though we may not think it's easy. It is easy because it comes like this. You may hold it back for a while. You won't want to do it in front of nobody, but it's going to come. And it's easy to do because you got to let it out. Let's change that. Why don't we make it easy to tell these people while they're standing in front of us how much we appreciate them, how much of an impact they've had on our lives, how much they've helped us grow to become the person that we are, rather than waiting until someone's doing a eulogy to get up there and say, this person was this, and this. And then in most cases, when the eulogy comes around, they don't talk about the good and the bad, the ugly. They only talk about the good. Because there's some bad in people that have helped you grow as well. You can express that too. But I think we have to understand how it feels or how it makes a person feel to know that you appreciate them while they're here. Because they can't hear it in that casket. They can't hear it in that morgue. They can't hear it when you go out there to the tombstone. Yeah, they can hear it, but they can't feel it. I retract that. They can hear it, but they can't feel it. Because the spirit is always moving. Why not let that person know today how much you appreciate them? And I know I've talked about this many, many times, but this situation this week with Malcolm Jamal Warner really opened my eyes to the point after I seen all the outpouring of love to him and everything like this from strangers that he's never met, who really don't know him as a man. They know him from acting. They know him from his music. They know him from the things he did as a philanthropist. They don't know him as a husband. They don't know him as a father. You know the people in your life as everything I just said they didn't know him about. You know your friends as parents. You know them as a grandfather, father, uncle, cousin, friend, confidant. What's holding you back? Pride? How you'll be viewed? What? If you express yourself to them, do you think it seems too final? Because I'm going to be honest, that's what I always thought. I always thought that if I told someone exactly how they made me feel, what they've done for me, that it was like something final, because only time I ever heard that was at a funeral. The only time I ever heard someone tell someone how much they cared or what they really felt about them was at a funeral. So for me, the mindset was, for me to say that now, it's like it's too final. It's supposed to be told in finalization. These are the things we carry, where a eulogy for somebody should not only be in the church when they're laying there, casket sharp. No pun intended. You can give someone a eulogy each and every day, and it doesn't mean death. We celebrate legacies but ignore lifelines. We perform devotion at funerals but avoid vulnerability at dinner. It's not always malice, sometimes it's hesitation. But hesitation robs the living of their testimony. Knowing someone is special isn't the same as telling them. And telling someone isn't the same as showing them. Your words are the shelter someone doesn't even know they need. Why do we speak louder when silence no longer answers? Why do we crown people after their clock runs out? Who is your walking miracle right now? And do they know? What compliment to somebody are you holding hostage? Because I'm going to say, you need to say it while they can hear it, while they can reply. Call them, text them. I'm all about reaching out. Just let them know. Don't wait until it's too late. Don't wait until it's too late. Don't wait for a tombstone to give someone their testimony. Rest in peace, Malcolm Jamal Warner. I appreciate everybody tuning in today. Thank y'all for always supporting the show, and I'll be back again next week. Hey, I made it through. I got the head is banging and everything, but I made it through. I appreciate y'all support, and look, we're going to keep coming with topics that are thought-provoking, make you think differently from what you turned on before you turned on the show this morning. I appreciate y'all. I love y'all, and anybody out there that knows me knows when I say I love you, I truly love you. And that's not in the sense of I love you because I'm in love with you or anything. I love you because of what you bring to my life, how you've impacted my life. And the fact that you turned on this show this morning to show me love and support is the same way I feel about you. Don't let your feelings get caught up in the fact of how someone may view you and not expressing how you feel about somebody because you're worried about what somebody may think. Their thoughts are irrelevant when it comes to how you feel about somebody. It's that simple. It's that simple. I appreciate y'all. I love y'all. And I'll be back again next week. Enjoy your weekend. Be safe. And as I always say, love yourself, love one another, keep your head up, and most definitely, keep your faith in God. I'll holler at y'all next week. Peace.